So after tearing its way through the Caribbean Sea, Beryl made landfall as a Category 2 hurricane, 6:05 a.m. Central Time this morning near Tulum, Mexico. It has since definitely reacted to being over land. So I'll show you here in a moment the satellite imagery. It doesn't look nearly as well organized as it was when it was over water, but there are still growing concerns now for what's going to happen with the system once it reemerges out here over the Gulf of Mexico, which will happen late today, maybe as early as late this afternoon, where it will likely be a tropical storm. But the issue becomes the fact that it has about 48 hours, pretty solid 2 days, to be over water there over the Gulf of Mexico, which will give it a chance to strengthen. And it also looks like it's going to take this little bit of an unusual south to north movement after it moves into the South Texas coastline, which would put the Houston area on that so-called dirty side or wet side of the circulation. So we can expect here for Houston, for Galveston, for Matagorda Bay, even all the way down to Corpus Christi in those spots, gusty winds, very large waves, especially on Sunday and early Monday, with very dangerous rip currents, which is a huge deal since we're going to have lots of people down there at the beaches, as we just told you. Over the weekend, especially Sunday, is when we have the higher risk for that. Coastal flooding, meaning that those tide levels are going to be running higher and could cause water to run over low-lying roadways and so forth. And, of course, heavy rain, possibly Monday through Wednesday, but it now looks like mostly on Monday. This is the latest run of the GFS computer model and its rainfall projections. Now, keep in mind, this is going to change, but it does give us an idea of some of the rainfall potential, with the purple indicating between about 6 and 12 inches of rain. So right now it's highlighting that around the Austin area and heading up to around Waco and Dallas, but it's not necessarily going to be those exact spots. This is the newest forecast from the Weather Prediction Center from NOAA, and it's showing this purple streak, which is in that 5 to 10 inch category, stretching from northern Mexico all the way across places like Brownsville and South Padre Island, Corpus Christi, back up to Victoria, and then over to around halfway between Houston and San Antonio. But keep in mind, a lot of this has to do with where a rain band sets up. Sometimes it only takes one strong rain band to cause flooding, and we don't know exactly where that's going to set up yet. In fact, there's an example of one at the end of this loop. In fact, there's another one that's forming. So we're going to see something similar to that as the system makes it over to our part of the Gulf of Mexico. Here's this beautiful, what's called a floater, visible satellite imagery, really high resolution, minute by minute imagery here, and you'll see there that center of circulation is over land right now, but a big flare up on the north side of it, a little bit of shear it looks like, just blowing some of those clouds off to the top. So here's our exclusive Fox model. This is a modification of the weather research and forecasting model. It has thus far done an amazing job. In fact, it was the only model that we have that saw the explosive development that Beryl was going to have before it moved into the Caribbean Sea. And this is what it's showing us right now. We'll fast forward here to just after midnight Saturday night and early Sunday, where it's showing a definite circulation, but fortunately not a monster storm. It is, though, showing it sort of pausing before it makes landfall and then taking a movement off toward the north. And this is probably the farthest north model that we have, but this one's actually showing it making landfall north of Corpus Christi, which would be a much bigger deal for the Houston-Galveston area with much heavier rain coming in. And here's one of those rain bands that I'm talking about. So in this scenario, it would bring the Houston area really heavy rain. If you live like up around Dallas, this scenario would bring you probably less rain. San Antonio, less rain. Same for Austin. But of course, we don't know that this is 100% what's going to happen. It's you know, obviously one model, but like I said, it has been doing a good job. Here's the GFS computer model forecast of future wave heights. And notice as we head into the early morning hours on Monday, so late Sunday, early Monday, we're talking about 10-foot waves just off the coastline, and so that'll contribute to very rough surf, dangerous surf along the coastline. In the meantime, we're looking for some very hot conditions across the area, and that is also going to lead to the formation of some thunderstorms coming in before the storm itself. So here's our futurecast from the European computer model, which is kind of falling in line with the GFS. We'll pause it here 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, and there it is, approaching the coastline of Mexico and Texas. The Euro model is a little bit farther to the south of some of the other models, so it's moving in here just off to the north of South Padre Island, making its way inland. We'll pause it here at 10 p.m. on Monday, and it also, by the way, is a little slower than some of our other models. In other words, it's you know, kind of hanging the storm up out there through Monday and Tuesday. Now notice the GFS model, which is the American model of course, is moving it toward our area and makes it on land here farther to the north, closer to Corpus Christi here at 6 a.m. on Monday. And notice how quickly this moves upward by Austin at 5:30 on Monday, and then moving out of the area by Tuesday. So a lot of variables here that we will of course keep you apprised of here on Fox 26 and on our YouTube page, as well as here on all of our digital media on Fox Local, which you can download for your smart TV.